I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, it's Saturday, so let's do an investing mindset, motivational blog, kind of keep you guys on track. I know so many of you guys are, own real estate, saving for the down payments. You're buying stock, putting it into your RSP and TFSA, so you're on your way. So positive affirmation here. So a few things. I saw an interesting article on CNBC that came across my Twitter feed here. And not surprising, it said here the wealthiest 10% of Americans own a record 89% of all equities, of all stock. 90% of all equities being held is held in the top 10%. And this is not surprising to me. This is the same thing in Canada. Something like over 50, but only about 30% of Canadians even own any equities. Very few have their RSP or TFSA maxed. A lot of people in their TFSA, they have a term deposit or something, which is just a total waste of time. They haven't taken the 100 hours just to learn the basics, and it is costing them dearly. It's just crazy. Here's another thing I wanted to follow up on, which will tie into this. This was a guy on Twitter that I follow that had interviewed 200 millionaires in the United States. Now, millionaires is kind of funny. A millionaire today really isn't all that fantastic, really. Having $1 million net worth 20 years ago that's probably equivalent to having about 5 million today. So I don't know where these people were on the scale, if they had 1 million or 5 million or 10 million. But of course, I blogged about this. They all have the same traits. He interviewed 200 of them and then dissected it and came up with these 7 traits that they all have. And I've talked about this so many times. This is 100% spot on. They're all the same. You guys should follow this exact same formula, because I have this exact same formula before I even knew it was a formula. They all have debt against appreciating assets, so they're using leverage. Talked about this so many times. So the best way to access debt against an appreciating asset is buying a house, taking out a mortgage, either on your principal residence or buying an investment property. It's the best way, and you're getting that leverage at an incredibly favorable interest rate. Now, of course, leverage can go both ways. It's a very misunderstood thing. A lot of people get all up in arms when you start talking about leverage. They automatically think you're over-leveraging and you're taking on too much debt. Or you got a guy like Evan Sindall who's, quick to point out that leverage can go the other way. What if the home goes down 10% next year? Well, what I've often said is that what if the home goes down 10%? Who cares? Because you should not be buying your principal residence or an investment property if you have to sell it in a year or 2 years. You need to have a long-term horizon. The longer you extend your holding period out, it increases your percentage of a fantastic return. After about 10 or 15 years, you're guaranteed to make a boatload of money. My golden rule has always been about 8 to 10 years. You should be able to commit to it. Nothing wrong with renting short-term if you can't commit to holding it 8 to 10 years. Just rent. 8 to 10 years will solve all your problems, and hopefully you'll keep it a lot longer. But they all have debt against appreciating assets. Leverage is how most wealth in America was created. They all take volatility in stride. 100% true. How many times have I talked about it on my Twitter feed and on this blog as well? I could care less if the stock market drops 10%, 20% tomorrow. It doesn't make any difference to me. We just had a 10% pullback in September. We just had a vicious, so many people forget this, March of 2020, we had one of the sharpest corrections I have ever seen in my 35 years in the stock market. It was 35% drop in a matter of about 4 weeks, which it all recovered very quickly. Look at these price drops or corrections as good buying opportunities. They shouldn't make much difference. The only thing that people that are affected by price drops are people that are forced to sell. You never want to be in a position that if the price of your company drops 20%, you have to sell it. You're what they call a weak hand, and you never want to be like that. Money earmarked towards real estate or retirement or into equities should be long-term money, not an emergency fund or anything else. Volatility is your friend. It makes people do dumb things. I was picking up some nice buys here in September, and I picked up some tremendous bargains in panic selling back in March of last year. Look at volatility as your friend. A buy and hold investor has a huge leg up on a lot of these people, including institutional investors. They avoid consumer debt. Well, of course, pretty straightforward. I've done blogs on this. I do not have any consumer debt. I've never had any consumer debt. I don't have car loans. I don't have credit card balances, student loans, furniture loans, or anything like that. Either should you. If you've got credit card debt at 20-25%, which is loan sharking, I've done lots of blogs on this. Federal government wants to do everything they can to keep you out of home ownership with the stress test, but they don't do anything about the loan sharking credit card rates at 25%, keeping you out of the housing market at 1.2. It's all backwards. But if you have any type of credit card debt, you cannot buy a house yet and you cannot save for retirement. You need to clear that first. All are invested in stocks. Of course they are. They're all getting their money working for them. They're not putting their money in bank accounts or term deposits or bonds. You're losing money on those things. You sign on the dotted line and put $1,000 into a term deposit, you're basically saying, I'm going to pay you $20 every year because inflation's running at 4. So it's nuts. Everyone owns equities. You should too. Don't be buying the GameStops and the AMCs unless that's your play money, your mad money. Invest in high quality companies that I've always talked about here. The Visas, the Costcos, the Home Depots, the Johnson & Johnson, Apple, Google, Facebook, Nvidia, Canadian banks, Bell Canada. These are the kind of companies you want to be holding. Not Bombardier, not BlackBerry, not GameStop or AMC. Get your money working for you. They're going to pay you a nice dividend in a lot of cases, reinvest it, take advantage of that long-term capital gain that's going to accumulate. Let it snowball. Many still have a 9-to-5 job. Yeah, I can believe that. I don't have a 9-to-5 job, but I still put in, a lot of hours every week as a realtor. I'm working every weekend because I enjoy the work. I'm fortunate that I got into a career that I had a passion for and that I enjoy doing. I could have retired many years ago, but I still like to stay busy. Real estate keeps me on my toes, keeps me mentally stimulated, and I enjoy the challenge. They all own real estate. Of course they own real estate because it goes back up to they have debt against appreciating assets. Real estate and taking out mortgages is the best way to access that leverage. Again, do not over leverage. The Canadian banks here in Canada won't let you do it anyways. But take advantage of these low interest rates. Take advantage of the principal resident exemption by owning real estate and the long-term capital gains, which is much more favorable tax-wise. They all work their ass off, of course. Life is yours for the taking. It's not going to be given to you. I get up at 5:30, 5:30, 5:45 every morning. I enjoy getting up. I enjoy the challenges. You guys should too. You gotta work. You gotta hustle. You have to make the sacrifices. Pay yourself first. Get that money working for you. You won't see much in the first 10 years, but I've often said to you guys, it'll sneak up on you. By the time you get into your late 30s or late 40s, you'll start to see what I'm talking about. By that time, you've got rent checks coming in on your investment properties. You're maybe getting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 coming in every year in the form of dividends, 100% passive. And those dividends keep going up every year from the quality companies you're holding. It all starts to make sense. But you got to put in the effort. You're not going to get the results if you don't put in the fuel and the work. They don't like bonds. Yeah, again, I'm talking about a guy on my YouTube channel here asking if I own any bond funds. No, I've never owned a bond in my life. I've never had a term deposit or a GIC in my life. Why would I? Interest rates are not anywhere near where they would need to be for me to go into those type of things. I would want to see an interest rate on a bond at around 6-7% for it to be interesting to me. Because I was buying Bell Canada last year. It was yielding me almost 7%. Guaranteed dividend yield, which keeps going up. It's more tax favorable on the dividend tax credit. Plus I'm going to get some capital gains over the long term on Bell Canada. So, interest rates would have to go up dramatically. They would have to go up 5-fold here to be interesting to me. You need your money, it's a Tina effect. There is no alternative. Interest rates aren't going to get you anywhere. You need your money working for you and assets that can appreciate like real estate and like stocks. So no surprise here. This has been around. I've blogged similar blogs to this over the years. everyone's got the same, I was doing these things before I knew they were the traits of millionaires. I just became a millionaire, but, I was starting these things, 25 years ago. But everyone that I know, I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of, very successful people in Canada here as well as in the United States. And I can tell you that they all own real estate, they all own stocks, we all own pretty much the same equities too. We all own the good stuff. The Apples and again the Amazons and the Googles and the Johnson and Johnsons and that kind of thing. We all own real estate. We don't have any consumer debt. We pay ourselves first, and we're always working, always learning. We enjoy the process, enjoy the ride. It's not going to come overnight. Try and get a little better every day is what I tell you guys to do. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to all my new subscribers. I think, in the next couple of months here, I hope to hit 10,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Thanks for everyone who's been buying my book and reviewing it. I've got buyers from Canada, of course, Vancouver, all across the United States, Europe, South America. Thanks to everyone who's bought my book and reviewed it on Amazon. Hey, Christmas is coming up, makes a good stocking stuffer. I wrote that book as a good introduction to getting your money working for you. Part of that 100 hours you want to put in to learn the basics. And once you do, and you have a basic understanding of how taxes work, how the RRSP, the TFSA, how buying real estate, holding real estate, the dividend tax credits, all those good things, just learn the basics and you'll be on your way. See you next week.